Hi there again, BookTube Lola here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a wrap up for the month of August, what I've read and what I think of the books that I've read. So here goes. The first book I obviously read this month was The Cursed Child, and I think a lot of you have already seen my video of what I think about this, but I really adored it. I couldn't put it down. I just really enjoyed the story. I know a lot of you know the story, but I'm not going to give any spoilers in this video as it is, but I love Scorpius. Scorpius Malfoy is my favourite character in this book. He's got so much personality and so much character, as opposed to Albus. Kind of, his main character is just being spoilt in a way, and just not wanting to do this, that and the other, and arguing with his father. That's my opinion on Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I really enjoyed it, and that's by J.K. Rowling, John Tiffany and Jack Thorne. The next book I read in the month of August was A Series of Unfortunate Events, book 8. Yeah, The Hostile Hospital. This was absolutely brilliant book. You see character development again, you see Sunny becoming a toddler and walking and talking more, and it's absolutely brilliant. She says full-fledged sentences in this book, which is amazing. But yeah, the Series of Unfortunate Events is basically about 3 children who are orphans because their parents died in a fire in the first book, which you find out right at the beginning anyway. And it's their adventures as orphans, having different carers in every book. And this one's basically they've just run away from a village, and they end up in this hospital run by volunteers, which is a bit strange. But yeah, again, Olaf's coming after them as per usual in all the books, and it's still a fantastic story, and I really love reading these, and I can't wait to jump into book 9 when I get it. So yes, really enjoyed that one. The next book I finished off this month was Truth Witch, which is there in a really small picture. I'm having to show it on my Kindle because I don't know if it's going to focus or not. I'm having to show it on my tablet rather because I don't actually have the physical book. So I read Truth Witch, which is the Witchland series book 1, and it's by Susan Dennard. And I enjoyed this book too. It's an epic fantasy kind of story about a girl called Sophia and her truth thread sister. I can't remember her name because I'm bad at these names in these books because they're quite complicated names. And they go on their little journey, epic fantasy adventure, to get away from a blood witch who is trying to catch Sophia because she's a truth witch. And truth witches are very rare. That one hasn't been born in so many years, and the kingdom could do with a truth witch because this, that and the other. And so she has to go into hiding with her thread sister, and they get separated and they come back together, and the basic epic fantasy kind of theme. But yeah, I think this is quite a fascinating one because you don't see a couple of girls travelling together in that many books. It's normally like a boy and a girl and then they fall in love and blah blah blah, but these are like sisters, but not really, they're like best friends. And I quite like that element in the story. I like the magic in the story. There's wind witches, truth witches, blood witches, and all those kind of things. So I really like that element as well. There's all the different kind of witches and who have their kind of own element or own special powers and abilities in a way, and they're all kind of categorised, and the rarity is a thing, and legend and myth of different witches. So yeah, I really like that element. I rated it a 4 out of 5 star because I really enjoyed it and it was beautifully written. The next book I read was called Etiquette and Espionage, and that is by Gail Carriger. But I think I rated this 3. I wanted to give it a 2.5, but obviously Goodreads didn't have the kind of system. I didn't particularly enjoy reading this book. I expected a bigger plot and a bigger story from it, but it never happened, so I just couldn't enjoy it. I read the whole thing, but at the same time it had such a good element to it as well. It was going to be such a good story if it was written properly, but it wasn't. And those few, it could have been something different. It could have had more of an element of etiquette and espionage to it. It could have had a whole different story, and it didn't. So I was kind of disappointed by this book, and I think it could have had a different story to it in a way. Basically what happens is this girl goes to school, and it's like a finishing school for ladies to learn etiquette, but they also learn espionage, how to kill their husbands and how to poison them and that kind of stuff, which was a really, really cool theme in my head. But then the story wasn't written the way I wanted it to be, and I was kind of let down by it, so I didn't really enjoy it that much. And then I went to Lincoln with my fiance for a weekend, and he bought a manga and a comic while we were there. So the manga I read was the very first Pokemon Adventures Volume 1, and I really, really enjoyed it. I've never read a Pokemon manga before, and this was the first one, and I thought it was fantastic. It's about Red and Blue, the original characters in Pokemon, and how their adventures went, and I really, really want to get the second one now. Red has a Bulbasaur, a Pikachu, and a Poliwag in this volume, and then he already has, no, it's not a Poliwag, it's Poliwhirl, and he catches Pikachu and Bulbasaur later on in the manga, and it's just his little adventure, and Blue also, but I think Red is a bit of a jerk in this manga, and he's a bit full of himself and that kind of stuff, so he's not a really, really relatable character, but it makes you still want Pokemon in real life. So I still want Pokemon in real life. I love Pokemon. I'm a big Pokemon nerd. I've been playing it since I was little, and I've never grown out of it, so yes, I do have Pokemon Go, and I do play it, so I don't care what people say. I like Pokemon. So the next thing I read, and it was hilarious, I really, really enjoyed it, and it was I Hate Fairyland Volume 1, and it's not focusing on my tablet, so I'm not going to show you anymore, and it's called Madly Ever After. It's about a girl called Gertrude, and she looks like this normal little girl, but she goes around murdering fairyland creatures, trying to get out. I don't know how much I can tell you in case you want to read it, but it's the basic premises of this story is a little girl going around trying to kill everybody in Fairyland to try and go home, because she doesn't want to actually be in Fairyland. And then this little girl called Happy comes along. She's also put into Fairyland, and she's really happy. She's the typical little girl you would find in Fairyland. So their quest is to find a key to get home, basically. And these two little girls go about it totally different ways, and it's such a funny story, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I would really recommend giving that a read. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Hands down brilliant. So the last book I read, which I gave out a 4.5 out of 5 stars because it was fantastic, and I finished it last night, and that was Dreamwalker by J.D. Oswald. I actually picked this up by accident, thinking it was a different book, because there's another book I wanted to read called Dreamwalker, and I'm so glad I did, because I really, really enjoyed this story. It's about a boy called Ben Fro, and he's a dragon, and then there's a boy called, what are you called? Errol. There's a boy called Errol who is a human, and it's basically their stories entwining and coming together in a way. They still haven't met in this world after I've finished it, but I really want to get the next book and see if they do ever meet, and it's just fantastic because Errol goes on a little adventure outside of a city, and Ben Fro kind of stays in his little village because dragons have to be hidden away because there's all these laws against them, and there's people trying to kill them and all that kind of stuff, and it's an absolutely wonderful concept. The whole idea of dragons having jewels in this as well is different, because the jewels are actually inside their heads, and they hold the memories of the dragon, so when the dragon dies they have to be cremated, and then the jewels are have to go through this kind of transition so that the soul can be released and the dragon can move on. And I really absolutely adore that concept, because the people who are trying to kill the dragons kind of hoard away the jewels instead of the dragons hoarding away jewels. And that the concept is that if people get hold of the jewels and everything, the souls won't move on because they haven't been through this process after death. And they'll just be in torment forever because the jewels haven't gone through this process of this thing after death. So I really, really enjoyed this story, and I just really want to get Rose Cord now. But I'm quite proud of my little read this month. I think I've read 7 books altogether. Some of them were little, some of them were comics, another one was manga, so that's fine. I know they were little, but I'm quite proud of that. I've gotten through quite a bit of literature this month, so proud of myself. So thank you very much for watching my little wrap up video for August. I will see you next time. Bye bye!